Hello, this is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your thorny spine. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's creepy, spooky, and sometimes outlandish array of tales. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a burnt orange hue over the idyllic beaches of Mauritius. Fernanda, a bright yet restless 16-year-old, stood gazing at the pristine waters, the waves crashing rhythmically against the shore. The tranquility of the moment was shattered as her phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She snapped back to reality and rummaged through her beach bag, pulling out the device. The caller ID was blocked, but curiosity coiled around her heart like a snake. Holding her breath, she answered.
Hello.
Fernanda, you have to listen to me. This is you. From the future.
The voice was shaky yet undeniably familiar, tempered with urgency. Fernanda's mind raced. This was a prank. It had to be. She willed herself to laugh, but instead, the laughter died in her throat.
Who is this? You're not funny,
she muttered, heart pounding.
Please, just listen. You'll think I'm crazy, but there's a killer looking for you, and I need you to take this seriously. You have to stay inside tonight. Don't go to the party. Don't go anywhere.
A shiver crept down Fernanda's spine as she gripped the phone tighter.
You can't be serious. A killer? This is ridiculous.
Her voice trembled, and she felt her surroundings begin to fade away, the vibrant beach turning into a claustrophobic cage.
Fernanda, listen. The more you argue, the more likely it is he will find you. He looks just like a regular guy. He'll approach you, and if you don't listen to me, you won't make it till morning.
All right, who is this? What's your name?
She demanded, desperately trying to shake off the paranoia that gripped her thoughts. The voice hesitated.
You're not ready to know that. You just need to trust me. You can change the future, but time is running out.
With that, the line went dead. The world rushed back in, a cacophony of laughter from nearby beachgoers, the scent of salt and sun-baked sand enveloping her senses. Trembling, Fernanda slipped the phone back into her bag and forced herself to breathe. Ignoring the party didn't seem an option. Her friends were already gathered at the old colonial house her father rented each year for their holiday. The air was thick with excitement, and any suspicion seemed to evaporate under the warm glow of fairy lights. Nevertheless, she couldn't shake off the conversation. The sun set quickly, and shadows stretched ominously towards her. She pulled herself from the beach and trudged towards the party, every step a battle between assurance and anxiety. As she arrived at the house, laughter and music embraced her like a drug, suppressing the shadows lingering in her mind. It was exhilarating and intoxicating, and for a moment, she let herself forget the warning. She danced and laughed with her friends, lost in the thrill of the night. Then came the moment her future self warned her about. The door creaked open, and in stepped a man, tall and unassuming, with a devil-may-care grin that made her stomach churn. He was someone you could easily overlook in a crowd, yet a sense of dread unfurled deep within her. He sauntered toward her, eyes locked and a charming smile on his lips.
Hey there, mind if I join you?
He asked, his voice dripping with easy confidence. Feeling paralyzed, Fernanda hesitated but nodded. They chatted awkwardly as her friends swirled around them. All the while, a gnawing sense of fear gnawed at the back of her mind, whispering the warnings of her phone call. She caught glimpses of his face that felt oddly distorted, as though it flickered between different realities.
Where are you from?
She asked, trying to disguise her mounting agitation.
Just down the road, thought I'd check out the party.
He replied, his smile unwavering.
But it's on the beach, why?
She bit her lip, trying to piece together her thoughts. There was something too smooth, too practiced about him.
I think I saw you on the beach earlier. You looked lonely.
He said, leaning in closer. Her heart raced.
Well, it was just.
Be careful of the waves, you know. They can drag you under, just like people can.
He murmured, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper. Fernanda's pulse quickened. A sick realization settled in her gut as memories of the phone call rose sharply to the surface.
I need to go,
she blurted, backing away.
Why? We were just getting started.
He laughed lightly, but there was a darkness threading through the joviality. The atmosphere shifted as he reached for her, his hand brushing against her wrist. A surge of energy pulsed through her.
Get away from me,
She shouted, panic rising like bile in her throat. She turned to flee into the crowd, the laughter morphing into unsettling whispers. She dashed up the stairs, ignoring the escalating music, hoping to find safety within the thrumming house. The walls felt like they were closing in, shadows stretching towards her. Each door she flung open revealed only further dead ends. At last, she saw an open window and looking out, she saw an empty yard 4 stories down. She had to make a choice, stay and fight or leap into the unknown. Clarity struck like lightning, she fled. With a final prayer, she hurled herself through the window, tearing through it just as the door swung open behind her. She hit the ground, rolling through the grass, pain searing through her limbs. As she sprinted past the house, the chaotic sounds of the party swirled behind her. She could hear him shouting, the smile replaced with rage. But the adrenaline propelled her forward, forcing her to the safety of the beach and into the dark waters. As the waves crashed around her, she could still hear the echoes of her future self, resonating against the crashing tide.
You did it. You changed the path. You're safe.
But deep in her soul, beneath the exhilaration of survival, dread rooted itself. A constant whisper that the future was mutable, that darkness loomed. In the shadows, danger could still hide, always waiting, always watching. It is one of my deepest fear to be chased by a serial killer. What are your favorite movies from that genre? Mine would have to be the Scream franchise and also the Halloween movies with Jason Voorhees. Very creepy stuff. But how cool would it be for your future self being able to warn your past self? It will save you so much trouble, since who would know best but someone who has already experienced it. Let's move on to the next story. Recently, we had our vacation in Japan. Luckily, we arrived on the day when the Japanese people celebrate Hina Matsuri, or the Dolls Festival. My cousin and I were so curious about the festival since it was our first time seeing something like it. When we were there, we actually thought it was a little bit creepy, because there were different kind of dolls. Some are called ikematsu dolls, which look like they're alive. Seriously. I will insert a photo here for your reference. Even though we were actually not fan of dolls, we decided to buy some souvenirs, particularly dolls since it was a doll festival after all. Most of our purchases were Daruma and Kokeshi dolls. I will insert photos of each here. When we went back to our hotel in Okinawa, I grabbed and played with one of the Kokeshi dolls. I don't know why, I said I don't like dolls, but I admired this doll so much. As we continued to travel in Japan, I always brought the doll with me in my purse, and I called my doll Keshi. I treated the doll like it was alive. I used to talk to it and tell it all my heartaches and pains. During that time, I knew my boyfriend, who was back in the Philippines, was cheating on me with one of my friends. Actually, He decided to break up with me via text while I was still on vacation. It shattered my heart to pieces. That day, after hearing the devastating news from my boyfriend, I stayed in our hotel room and tried to let go some of my pain by writing about it on my blog. Keshi was by my side while I was typing on my laptop, tears streaming down my wretched face. I didn't realize I fell asleep after sobbing all night. The following day, I found out that I forgot to turn off my laptop. As I scanned it, I saw my ex-boyfriend's missed calls on Facebook Messenger and received calls. I checked our conversation box and saw his messages seeking forgiveness. I freaked out because I responded to his messages but in the Japanese language. I knew that I was asleep by that time when I checked the timestamp, and I do not recall talking to him at all. I was also not fluent in Japanese. I know some basic stuff like arigato and sayonara, but very starter level, definitely. I tried to translate the phrases on English, and found out that the content was Tomino's hell. I knew stories about that poem, and according to sources, you should only read it in your mind because if you read it out loud, something tragic will happen. I was so nervous that time and I tried to contact my ex, just trying to check if he was fine. Although now thinking about it after all these years, I should have just let him suffer since I still hate him so much. He is a dirty and no good rat. Anyway, after several calls and he finally picked up and told me everything. He explained that he was a bit shocked why I responded the Tomino's Hell poem, and he never even dared to read it because he also knew the stories behind it. After our chat, he tried to speak with me via video call. After several tries, he said I picked up his call, but he was surprised because he saw me sleeping when the camera turned on. He told that he thought I was only pretending that I was sleeping, so he kept talking. After several minutes, he saw my doll, my Kokeshi one, move on its own and looked towards the camera. My ex said he screamed because it gave him chills and goosebumps. But then, he was still waiting if I was going to get up from my bed. He thought I was pranking him. He told me that something suddenly fell on his side, and after he picked it up, he got even more scared because my doll was now standing and facing the camera so close. He thought I was just joking around, and when he started saying profanities, the doll flew up in the air and landed beside me, who was motionless and asleep. Before he turned off the Facebook Messenger call, he heard some unearthly giggles. I ended our conversation immediately, and I was so blanked out that time. It was very impossible that someone would enter my room, because my cousin knew that I wanted to be alone, and I made sure to lock my hotel room door. I looked at my Kokeshi doll and felt scared. After that, I told everything to my cousin, and she said that there's huge chance that my Kokeshi doll did all of that. She explained to me there's a folklore in Japan that if you loved a thing so much, there's a great chance that it would be possessed by a spirit and become alive. I know it's creepy, but until now, I can't fathom the idea of getting rid of my Kokeshi doll. I brought it home here in Philippines. I consider it my best pal because I know it means no harm to me and just wants to protect me from those who hurt me. I am glad that the writer did not get rid of the Kokeshi doll. As she said, the doll meant no harm. In fact, the one who actually harmed her was her cheating rat of a boyfriend. He should feel lucky that all he got was a fright after hurting her like that. For added context, Tomino's Hell is a poem turned urban legend that's been floating around the internet since the early 2000s. The general belief is that if you read the poem out loud, you'll meet an untimely death. So read it aloud at your own risk. I hope you enjoyed our spooky and strange stories. Join us next time for more. Take care and boo-bye.